Símbolo da dissidência soviética, Natan Sharansky é um grande ativista dos direitos humanos e presidente da Agência Judaica. Em passagem pelo Brasil, ele conversou com o programa Shalom Brasil e você confere agora no quadro Ana Rosa @Atualidades.
Tenho a honra de entrevistar no meu quadro uma personalidade cuja trajetória de vida é um exemplo de resiliência e perseverança. Sobrevivente do Gulag soviético e também das violentas e desumanas prisões na Sibéria, ele foi libertado através de uma pressão internacional, mas principalmente por uma campanha, uma incansável campanha liderada por sua mulher, a Vital. Ele é um dissidente soviético e foi libertado apenas em 1986 por Mikhail Gorbachev, imigrando imediatamente para Israel. O meu convidado, o senhor Natan Sharansky, que como presidente da Agência Nacional Judaica encontra-se no Brasil para participar da convenção na CONIB. Mr. Sharansky, it's an honor talking to you and thank you for your time.
I'm glad to be here with you.
Mr. Sharansky, in your book, Fear No Evil, you describe how you survived 10 years in the KGB prisons and labor camps, being accused of crimes that you did not commit. So what were those false crimes and how did you kept alive and going under such brutal conditions in Siberian labor camps?
First of all, in the eyes of Soviet leaders, I did commit crime, because for them, to declare publicly that you don't want to live in this country, you want to leave to Israel, it's really
It's a crime.
It's a betrayal of the Soviet Union. For them to help the Jews to get literature on Hebrew or praying books, or to keep contact between Jews abroad and Soviet Jews, that was my function, it is a crime. For them to insist that we have the right to live a full Jewish life in Soviet Union when Hebrew is prohibited, when Jewish schools are prohibited, when there is no official way to learn about your heritage, so it was a crime.
But you were a different refusnik from the others under the former regime of the Soviet Union. I believe that you were what they call a troublemaker.
Every Jew who says publicly that he wants to leave the Soviet Union and to go to Israel is a troublemaker. But of course, because I was not only speaking about my rights, but also was trying to to establish connections between Jewish world and them. And my demands to Soviet Union were not only about myself or about Jewish people, but about to stop violations of human rights in general. So I was a little bit bigger troublemaker. When I started doing it, I'll tell you, I was absolutely assimilated Soviet Jew, having no connection with Judaism or with any Jewish tradition or with history, because that was the policy of the Soviet Union, to disconnect us from this.
So your wife, Avital, she was galvanizing the world. She was traveling, she met with President Reagan, and she was trying to convince, and they were very moved and touched by her convictions. So my question is, how do you feel, Mr. Sharansky, after being released and being the symbol of the Soviet oppression?
First of all, I think we worked very hard with Avital to separate between symbolism of our struggle and our private life. And I think we did succeed to build a family and to have a full, private, good Jewish Israeli life, in spite of all this attention and in spite of all this symbolism. At the same time, we did use this, symbols of this energy, which was released during our struggle, and this support and sympathy of the leaders of all the free world to our struggle. We did try to use it, first of all, to open the gates of the Soviet Union, and that's what I was doing mainly in the first 2 years after release, trying to mobilize American Jewry and others to press of the Soviet Union and to open the Iron Curtain. That's what happened. And then to use it for successful absorption of the million of Soviet Jews who came, and to make sure that their influence on Israeli society will be a positive one. I spent 9 years in prison. Before these 9 years, I was like 3.5 years activist of Jewish movement and human rights movement in the Soviet Union. So when we had a chuppah with Avital, and next day she went to Israel, and we hoped that I'll join her in a few months. I joined her 12 years later.
And she was still waiting for you.
Well, I told my first words were, sorry, I'm a little bit late. But look, when I took her to the airport in Moscow, she was a very shy girl who spoke hardly a few words in Hebrew and now nothing in English. But of course, she was inspired by what happened to us. But when I met her, she was already a very experienced leader of demonstrations of hundreds of thousands of people. She already opened the doors of every important leader in the world. And immediately after I joined her, we received telephone calls from President Reagan and Margaret Thatcher and Mitterrand and many others. So I understood that she has a good company.
That was her
she
job.
has quite a good company.
Yeah. Very strong woman. Yeah. Mr. Sharansky, when you, after you immigrated to Israel, you became human rights activist and a politician. With this, have you achieved your Zionist dream?
As a Jewish activist, as a prisoner of Zion, as a minister, and now there's head of Jewish agency, I'm doing the same job. Whether my Zionist dreams became true, of course, look, we were dreaming how we will make a hole in the Iron Curtain and Jews will be able to live. Not only we succeed to make a hole in the Iron Curtain. Iron Curtain doesn't exist. Soviet Union doesn't exist. KGB as it exists doesn't exist. And 1 million Jews moved in Israel. And the world is much more secure place because of the struggle.
How do you see this massive immigration, aliyah, especially from communities from France and of course here in Brazil?
Yeah, well, look, we have now aliyah continued aliyah from Ukraine because of the conditions with the war. We have increased aliyah, increasing all the time, from Russia because of changing political conditions there. For the first time in history, we have a serious aliyah from Western Europe, mainly from France, and it's a direct result of the fact that there is so much of anti-Semitism and anti-Zionism in one place. We have now increasing aliyah from Brazil, probably connected to economical situation. The fact that overwhelming majority of those who decide to leave choose Israel as their first option, for this we take credit.
So I believe that as president of the Jewish Agency and vis-a-vis with all this massive aliyah, you still have a lot of work to do.
Oh yeah, well, we never complaining that we don't have enough work. When there is aliyah, there is a lot of work to do with aliyah, but in addition, there is always a lot of work to do to strengthen Jewish communities. We believe that there is no contradiction between strong Israel and strong Jewish communities. To the contrary.
It's a big challenge now.
It is interest
of
Israel to strengthen Jewish communities here in Sao Paulo, in Rio de Janeiro, in Argentina, in Russia, in France, all over the world. And how to keep these two challenges together, aliyah and strengthening Jewish community, it's quite a headache, but we are happy to have that headache.
Mr. Sharansky, my last question to you. To whom would you like to dedicate your special shalom?
Well, my special shalom is every day is to my wife and my children and now my grandchildren, but also to every Jew, to every young Jew who starts his life and he thinks how to make the world a better place. Tikkun Olam, it's always in the minds of young Jews because it's in our blood. And I always tell them, from my own experience, if you want to change the world, you should stick to your identity.
Mr. Sharansky, it's a pleasure. Thank you very much. Atzlacha. Thank you. E vocês em casa continuem com Shalom Brasil.